This is a sort of blog about tourism and the first tourist guide that I know of. This is an original copy of it, published in 1763, which is a bit... Is it before tourism existed? I don't think the chap really knew. He sort of starts working forward with this business of the bathing machine, and is the bathing machine really a device of leisure, or is it a health device? I think you have to sort of understand the whole business of people coming here and why they came. Now, the seaside was a bit of a sort of no-no in the 1500s. Very few people lived by the sea unless it was in a fairly large community because of piracy and various wars and the enemy being close at hand. So you were more likely to get raped and pillaged if you lived by the sea, and people just didn't. Generally during the 1600s, the towns here in Thanet, Margate, Broadstairs and Ramsgate developed from Margate, which was St John's and was fairly close to the sea, probably had more of a community near to the sea than any of the others. Broadstairs, which was an artificial gate of types for St Peter's, and Ramsgate developed out of the village of St Lawrence. And it's likely that the Isle of Thanet was defensively walled, and these gates and stairs and things related to ways in and out of the defensive wall. Anyway, sometime around about 1735, 1740, the doctors decided that the cure going to the sea would be beneficial. So on the reprint of our guide here, which we sell cheaply in the bookshop, I've put a picture of the Benjamin West picture. This picture actually dates from about 1780-ish, so it's a bit later than the guide, but gives a general idea. So this cure thing, you went to your doctor in London. This is pre-Harley Street, so there wouldn't really have been an organised group of doctors, and doctors at that time, physicians, had fairly primitive ideas. So you went along with an unknown illness, and this was described perhaps as a palsy or something like that, and your doctor would have bled you. They didn't seem to do very much else, perhaps applied leeches, and in the end, after this period around about 1735, 1740, they suggested the cure. So the picture I've put on the front describes the cure, and the person having the cure would have had to have been pretty wealthy, first of all, to have consulted a physician, and secondly, generally to be able to engage in the cure. So here's your man who's going to have the cure, and you can see he's denoted with the stick. This is really just a representation that he's ill, and he's got this long stick in the form of a crutch, and in his hand is his pint pot. So what he's going to do is he's going to perform this cure perhaps for 6 months or a year every day, and his pint pot here, he's going to drink a pint of seawater, and then here are the professional dunkers, and they're going to ensure that he's fully immersed in the sea. Depending on the prescription, he may have to be held under until he thrashes, or thrashes if you like, and obviously everybody was cured. Now, coming down for a year, this involved renting a house in Margate or Ramsgate, and you would have taken, as a wealthy man, your family is probably represented here. Various hangers-on and your servants may be represented over here, and the bathing machines were a new device here, which were designed to preserve modesty, but the ideas of modesty were all a bit vague at that time. This is pre-Victorian, so perhaps a bit left over from Cromwell's idea of not enjoying yourself too much, but I think people had to be instructed in this idea of modesty. On the whole, I don't think they were as bothered as they were in Victorian times. But Benjamin Beale, the Quaker, invented this machine, and we'll go back to that in a minute. Obviously, the swimming costume hadn't been invented, so you can see the women down here awaiting the invent of the swimming costume, and if you have a look carefully, you'll see the men depicted here on the harbour wall with their telescopes. And understandably, there's a long dialogue of letters in the local papers relating to this. So, bathing machine wise, he gives a detailed plan here, and the idea being to describe how to use the thing, and he's put letters here A, B, C and D, and in the back of the guide he gives us complex descriptions of how this machine should be used and what A, B, C and D mean. Very early days and a complicated explanation. But reading the guide, you can tell that there's some edge of I'm having fun and I'm not here for the cure. The man writing the guide, obviously there aren't any guides to go on, so he starts writing it in the form of a letter. Sir, it gives me great pleasure by your obliging letter. Oh, sorry, it gives me great pleasure to hear by your obliging letter that you design to spend some part of the summer at this place. You are welcome to any information which may be in my power to give you concerning it. I think your questions respect the Isle of Thanet in general, the situation of Margate, its accommodations, provision, manner of bathing and amusement, places which attract the notice of strangers in the neighbourhood, along its coast. Well, it goes on in this vein, and you get mostly what you would expect, which is the chap writing the guide has read the local histories, and here in Thanet we've got a history that predates the main Kent history written by Hasted, which was written by John Lewis in 1723, and then heavily criticised by his peers and revised in the edition of 1736, which really, the revision just means it got twice as big, and Lewis explains that he wrote a history about everything and not just the gentry, so that he wrote a history including farming, and this influenced Hasted and subsequently influenced the way history in England was written. So he had useful documents to go on, and most of it's you come across a church or some sort of local stately home, and he explains it. But there's a bit on just having fun and where to play cards and where to drink, and I think even a price list to, say, Mitchener's Assembly Room in Margate here in 1736. You will note that, say, each non-subscriber, tea inclusive, pays a shilling for Thursday night. Well, a shilling would have been at that time, I suppose, about what a working man would have earned in a week. So there was a much bigger gap between the poor and the rich than there is now in some respects, although people say, yes, it's huge now. I think it was very big in the late 1700s. Anyway, I think that's enough for this vlog. We'll see how it goes. Do you think I recorded anything?